afternoon. Today I'm going to be speaking to you about why I feel the Bay is in need of saving that can't wait until tomorrow, but needs to happen now. I'd like for each of you to take a moment to think about your fondest childhood memory of your hometown. It could be a favorite place, a family event, or maybe spending some quality time with your dad, like me. Good times, right? Now imagine how your hometown has changed over the course of the last decade. This is a picture I took just a couple years ago at youth camp at my local Little League field. I grew up here, learned to play baseball here, and some of my best memories come from these fields. Today these fields are no longer there. They've been replaced by a massive apartment complex. Despite how many people, including myself, have come forward to express what this place meant to us, it's now gone. My city isn't the only place experiencing change. This is an image of San Francisco's California Street, one of the city's most iconic roads and a part of its culture. Now here it doesn't look like much has changed, save for a few more modern cars and street signs. Over the years, it's safe to say this city landmark has remained virtually intact with how it has always been. This is the Mission District, slightly less popular than California Street, yet every bit as much a part of San Francisco. Here, things haven't been so lucky. You can see the volume of garbage that covers the sidewalks and how people step right over it, like this couple picture. At the end of the day, despite the beautiful landmarks and history, pollution has rooted itself in the city and continues to rise with each passing year. Now, why does this matter? Pollution isn't necessarily a new topic, and until recently it's been something that doesn't truly impact many of us too seriously or take away from how we might live our normal lives. You see a piece of trash on the ground, you might pick it up or walk by it, but that's not going to stop you from living the rest of your day. But what about the people who it does affect? The ones who can't do anything about the pollution that's taken over their ability to live comfortably. I'd like to show you a picture of San Francisco County Jail number 4. Nothing out of the ordinary about it. Now, a little blurry, I know, but this picture was taken inside the jail, which has experienced severe sewage overflow over the past year. Numerous issues regarding sewage floods affected the building over the past few years. In 2017, an overflow on the 7th floor, where inmates are held, trickled down several stories until reaching the district attorney's office, at which point an evacuation was called. Since this event, District Attorney Chesa Bowden has authorized alterations to the building's plumbing, ensuring that his office and the lower levels of the building are protected while the inmate's floor is experiencing increasing bouts of flooding and sewage. The reality of the matter is, the city's impoverished and incarcerated individuals are already experiencing the full effects of pollution being forced onto them by city and government officials who would rather make it someone else's problem than face it themselves. This can only continue for so long, until the eventual day where the pollution is at all of our doorsteps. And then we too will have to experience what many are already going through right now. But as you see case after case of pollution in the city, you might wonder what's causing it. Why does it seem so much more prevalent here than in other cities? Is there something else causing it that we just don't know about yet? This is a graph representing population growth in San Francisco since World War II. You can see that in the past decade, the population has grown just as much as it did in the 2 decades prior. Being that San Francisco is already the second most densely populated city in America, having exceeded 900,000 people as of this past July 2019, how will it be able to sustain the expected population growth? This extreme overpopulation for a city that is less than 25 square miles has caused a severe lack of affordable housing. With a homeless population set to reach over 10,000 unsheltered individuals, where are they to go? The city lacks the resources to provide shelter and adequate living for the majority of its homeless, so they end up creating their own communities. known as tent cities. These are massive collections of tents occupied by the city's homeless who do not have access to basic standards of living. This leads to both widespread illness throughout the communities, as well as an inability to dispose of their own waste properly, as city and federal officials continue to avoid responsibility or helpful action. Now that we've seen how overpopulation and negligence to the city's impoverished communities is causing widespread pollution, where do we go from here? My idea was to look deeper into the culture of San Francisco as a whole. In order to combat pollution, whether coming from the decision makers at the top or from the homeless population being exploited, it's important to look at the way local organizations are addressing pollution both inside and outside the city. Save the Bay is one organization that has been committed to ensuring the protection of San Francisco's environment since 1961. With over 6,000 volunteers, Save the Bay has been involved in restoration projects benefiting the wetlands and wildlife habitats in the area. They also provide tools and resources to help communities affected by flooding and poor waste management. They have their own policy team, which advocates for fair and sustainable city legislation. They also hold fundraisers, such as their Swim at the Bay, which helps support many of their ongoing projects. Undoubtedly, they've had a positive impact on the city's pollution problem. But what if they took this just one step further? Although Save the Bay and other organizations have been committed to recruiting volunteers and working to restore important wildlife areas, what's stopping them from helping the non-wildlife areas as well? My point is, we have to look at where the majority of the city's pollution is coming from if we want to have the biggest impact. Much of the pollution affecting these natural areas is coming directly from inside the city. We need to focus on addressing this in order to prevent pollution from reaching these areas in the first place. But whose responsibility should it be to take ownership of the city's pollution problem? And who should be taking action to start changing this current trend? Governor Gavin Newsom gave an encouraging statement as recently as this past week, stating, "We've got a lot of work to do on affordability, homelessness, and I'm the first to acknowledge that. We have a responsibility, all of us, to address that, and I'm not running for the status quo." I believe there's a way for these local organizations, such as Save the Bay, to help bring in some of the homeless community to help volunteer in pollution projects. To what extent, I'm not sure yet. But maybe there's a way for the homeless to become environmental volunteers. This can help them learn basic environmental education, while the organizations can help provide important everyday resources they normally wouldn't be able to get. At the end of the day, maybe this quote is all we really need to understand. Great communities are made of good citizens. There are many different aspects of this city which need our attention, and the responsibility falls on everyone to each do their part to make a positive contribution towards a better community. Because I know how important my hometown was to me, and I'll always cherish growing up playing Little League with all my friends at Gene Burris Field. The fields may be gone, but the memories will always be there. It doesn't have to all come from one place, but everyone doing their part to contribute can lead to real positive change. Whether it's through volunteering in organizations such as Save the Bay, or simply being conscientious of your own impact on the community around you, we're all capable of saving the Bay and changing the course of our future. Thank you. Any questions?
Have you ever volunteered for any organizations such as Save the Bay?
Yeah, there's a couple of different organizations in my hometown, especially being from the beach area. There's several different ones called Spirit League, Hot Hoops. These are ones that are basically for underage kids or that come from bad families or bad upbringings that kind of gather together to play sports and even just talk about teach them about things that they might not normally be exposed to growing up.
Are there any other organizations that actually are attacking the source of the pollution, or is that something that just needs to happen?
So Save the Bay obviously is one of them. There's another called Alimony Farm that's similar to Save the Bay, where they have a lot of volunteer fundraisers or cleanups to help some of the natural or wildlife areas surrounding the bay, but there's not a lot of organizations that go directly into the city and into these homeless communities and advocate for change there, or teach them about their own impact on the environment. So that's definitely something